Okay, let's talk about the 5 stages of neuroplasticity, how we are actually going to rewire your brain. Here's the 5 stages: brain cell repair, neurostimulation, neuromodulation, neurorelaxation, and neurodifferentiation, which includes learning. And these were identified by Dr. Norman Doidge. He's a world-renowned brain expert, and he's the author of The Brain That Heals Itself, in which he talks about neurofeedback being a powerful modality to help people. But that's an aside. So now we're going to talk about the 5 stages of neuroplasticity. Number 1 is brain cell repair. So something very powerful that my family always engages in, and my husband does he helps people with, serves people at Leigh Brain and Spine, is detoxification, actually cleaning the cells out, cleansing the cells. And it's a purification system where you can detox your system. And there's many different ways to do that. In terms of nutrition, there's food sensitivity testing, improving your diet, and supplementation. And I'm going to talk about that in our lesson on nutrition. So I won't go into it here, but just so you know, we'll talk about that more in depth in just a bit. But recognizing that when you do those things, you're actually cleaning out the cells and helping them to repair themselves. You also do that during sleep. Cells heal and restore when you're sleeping. We'll talk about that in a second. Neurostimulation is how we create new neural pathways. So dormant circuits in the impaired brain are stimulated by light and sound, movement, vibration, magnetic, and electrical stimulation. And those are all different types of therapies: light therapy, sound therapy, movement, vibration, magnetic, and electrical. And we'll talk about some of them in just a few minutes. But thinking about neurofeedback therapy, how does it work and how does it fit in neurostimulation? So neurofeedback therapy literally stimulates the brain at the proper speed for calm focus in the areas of the brain that need it. And when it does that, it's creating new and stronger neural pathways of the proper brain speed energy, which you already know can create changes in your mental and physical state. And it's the brain, mind, body connection. So when we change the speed that the brain is working at through electrical stimulation, it's not even stimulation, it's teaching the brain to use more of that appropriate speed, then we will begin to break that negative feedback loop that is being created by the negative brain pattern and begin to stimulate the positive feedback loop that you will then learn how to keep in check for the rest of your life. And so this is a method of positive neuroplasticity. It's taking a negative brain pattern, switching it into a positive brain pattern, and then teaching you the skills to keep it there for the rest of your life, one of which is positive psychology. So just to introduce the idea, because we will talk about it in a later module, once you get your brain into its most positive optimal pattern, you can keep it there simply with your thoughts. And that's what positive psychology is. And it's proven by science. So I'm going to show you that in just a bit. Okay, neuromodulation is sustaining these new neural pathways. So it's resetting the brain so that the positive feedback loop keeps instilling itself over time. So basically, the brain is reset to be able to use the medium, most appropriate calm focus speed, regulated in the middle. To go back to my analogy of the pendulum, we're no longer swinging low and high. We're just here in the middle and sustaining those new neural pathways in the middle. So these extreme ones will weed over and die. That way we can stay neurologically regulated so that you can stay self-regulated so that you can create the life you want with intention. And that's what neurofeedback therapy also does. It's literally neuromodulation. So it's stimulating the brain in the areas that it needs to be regulated. And then it is making sure that that new pattern sticks by trampling that pathway over and over and over so that it stays and the other ones will become overgrown. And there's implementation strategies that I'm going to show you too: the tips, the techniques, the strategies, the routines, the positive psychology to create lasting change in neuromodulation. So those are things that you can do every day. when you do these little techniques, even though they seem silly in that there's no way they can continue to neuromodulate your brain, they do. The more of them that you use each day, the better your brain will stay in the new performance pattern. Okay, neuro relaxation. Sleep is number one. So I take a power nap just about every day because my days are filled with things and I need to relax. I meditate every day. So actual meditation or a meditation like activity. My husband likes to golf, so he'll go golfing and that puts his brain into a calm, focused mode most times. And activity like that it's not meditation in and of itself, but it's putting your brain into a semi-meditative state. So I have a stand-up paddleboard. I like to go out on the lake and I'm just paddling around and it's light and it's lovely out there and I'm not thinking, and that will put my brain in a meditative state. Just actually relaxing. And I chose this picture of the girl blowing bubbles because it's thoughtless, it's mindless, it's bringing her brain into a very relaxed state, even though she's fully alert and awake. So I try to embrace as many childish or activities of childhood with my kids while I can, knowing that they just won't be in my world very soon. So, blowing bubbles is a perfect example of that, where it's just mindless and your brain is recovering from all the activity that you're putting it through and you're engaging it in other parts of your life. Okay, neurodifferentiation is building new neural pathways. And I'm going to give you some very specific tips of how to neurodifferentiate for strength and neuroplasticity in upcoming modules. But recognize when you're learning in many different areas, it's strengthening and fortifying those areas across the brain. And of course, the areas aren't circles like that with numbers and science and music and language and art, but there are areas of the brain that you've learned already that control these different skills and abilities. And when you have to use that area to activate it. So when we're talking about neurostimulation and neuromodulation, there needs to be neurodifferentiation so that you get the whole brain activated. So as we get to the module on the routines and strategies and techniques, and you probably heard me say it before, is in my days, I try to create opportunities for different things so that I can keep learning and keep strengthening my brain. So I do different workouts. You've probably heard my Zumba story, disaster. Irish girls aren't meant to do Zumba is what I've decided, but I still try it even though it's difficult. I took my family rock climbing last week and that was a new skill and my brain was really thinking about it. I always try to cook new foods. I listen to new music. I try to do new things so that I'm engaging my brain in different ways, physically, mentally, artistically, musically, all of those, definitely scientifically, because we know I love that. In language, I love to read, I love words. So I'm trying to use all those areas all the time so that I can build all these new pathways in the Speed for Calm Focus, and I can really lock them in across my whole brain so that it's strong and healthy and working together. And that will create a positive feedback loop. Okay, so up next, I'm going to talk briefly about traditional therapies and how they help to rewire your brain on top of these awesome state-of-the-art brain-based techniques that we're talking about. So join me in the next lesson.